So that last video was definitely not how you come back from a hiatus, or at least make an attempt to come back from a hiatus. So the big question is, where the hell have I been for almost a year now? So if we look back now, I was last working on a vending machine in late August, and that was my last video. And then I vanished off the radar. Well, let's just say that a lot of things happened in my life that prevented me from being able to make any kind of videos in any form of a timely manner. Now, for these videos, there's several things I want you to consider before you ask the question, why aren't you making more videos, or why haven't you improved your production quality a whole hell of a lot? And we'll get into quality a little bit more later here too. First is simple, I make $14 an hour. That kind of money these days isn't really a whole hell of a lot of money. And with this much stuff, you really can't get an apartment and share it with other people. So my parents have been content enough to let me live in their basement. At 28 years of age, believe me, it is not a decision I have taken lightly. And every day do wish that I wasn't living here. Hopefully one day I will see a legitimate paycheck, so I'm not having to deal with those problems. Because of these very, very tight budgets, being able to make videos full-time isn't really possible for me. I don't have a GoFundMe, I don't have a Patreon, I don't have any way that's crowdfunded. I've never monetized my videos on YouTube, so I'm not making a penny out of anything I see here. And I'm not LGR, I'm not Tecmo, I'm not 8-Bit Guy or one of his variants. I'm not Mr. Carlson's Lab. I'm definitely not Linus Sebastian. As a result, my viewer count is extremely small. So you put a lot of work into these videos. How much work? Well, you have to plan exactly what's going into it. You have to get a hold of the materials that you want to record with, so it can be tapes, the cameras, and of course, the devices themselves that you want to make the topic of the video about. You have to capture it all, you have to edit it all, and of course you have to upload it, and you have to do a little bit of moderation. Sometimes YouTube isn't entirely happy with what you do. I have in the past had to deal with stuff being muted. The strike last week was definitely something that was kind of in YouTube's error, but really it's not the kind of thing that you can debate at this point, so I have no choice but to move forwards on that. And yeah. With this inability to work full-time on this, it gives me the ability to free up with other work. I have a car. I use that car to drive to work. I use that car to drive to other people, to socialize with them. But this car is old. A 1992 vehicle has a lot of rust and a lot of wear. So there's always a lot of upkeep that needs to be performed on this car. This isn't made so much easier when your coworkers are back rear-ending you in the parking lot of where you work. I'm happy that guy was able to compensate me a little bit for that bumper damage. At the same time, I have bills to pay, I have food to do. There is a level of independence that I wish to keep separate from my living in my parents' basement, because at the very end of the day, it's a roof over my head and a place to store my stuff. So, what's going on with videos? Well, as you can see, there have been a few changes. Behind me isn't as drab as it used to be before. We actually have some bookshelves up, and we're working on that a little bit more. The lighting has improved a little bit, but then there's this beautiful table you got right here. Remember those Laserdisc auto changers? Yeah, those are the base for this here. All my Laserdiscs are now much more safely stored. Now, I've also upgraded a little bit on my camera technology. My front camera here is still working at 24 frames per second simply because that's the only way it will give me progressive scan. I do now have, however, a second camera, which in this case is directly over here, and I use that one now for zooming in. This one, unfortunately, is 30 frames per second interlaced. It'll do progressive scan, but only at 15 frames per second. But the idea here is that I can then be able to zoom in on smaller items and get some of the finer details. So you can definitely take a look at exactly how it looks, the size of it, just the fine details like this. And that's not all. I also have another cam which I've installed directly above me. And this camera here allows me, if I put it centered over here, I can actually zoom straight in, or I can zoom straight out, and I can find out exactly what I want to have displayed here, and it's a very big Clivey way to do it, but the mount that I had to make this work is really cool on its own. But what else have I been doing over the last 9 months? Well, there's a lot of things. Winter is my downtime. That's one of the few times where I'm able to do repairs, catch up on other projects, and mainly just try and catch up. This summer, what's going to be happening? Well, I'm not going to be available for most of August, unfortunately, so I'll try and push out a couple of videos. I do have at least one that I've promised to make, so I have no choice in that matter. It's more of a case of, can I make this video and not have to deal with my parents walking in and saying something absolutely embarrassing, which will require a cut and, well, a retake, hopefully to clear that up. For those of you who hung around and stayed subscribed, thank you very much for doing so. I do apologize that the outflow here has pretty much gone to nothing. For those of you who have unsubscribed, well, it's not my choice in the matter here. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. I'm not looking for a gold YouTube plaque or even a silver or a bronze one or whatever the hell it is. I mean, look at my viewer count right now. When Techmoan put out initially the video he had for his Roland, I believe, floppy disk based boombox, that there garnered enough views in one day to eclipse almost my entire account's total views. Like, that just gives you an idea of just how small I am. Like, not really the most impressive thing and not really the best thing I want to talk about. Anyways, that's all for now, and hopefully we can get another video out here pretty soon. It's a lot of work.
John.
What? Please go. Yes,
if
yes.
you don't want us, if you want, just leave us a note that you're doing something. Okay?
Yes, I'm aware. I'm sorry. I'm a horrible person.